What's up guys, how you guys doing? So yeah man, so on this video here, this is not a tutorial on what am I doing? This is not a tutorial on Fruity Loops, but rather it's more a tutorial on the music scene. So that's basically like things that have to do with music and album sales and all that stuff there. That's what we're going to be talking about on this tutorial here. So just watch if you're interested, if you want to learn more outside of Fruity Loops and you want to learn about just basic economics basically, and this is basic economics. It's economics 102. So that's for those of you that are not in varsity yet, that's basically economics, first year economics, second semester second semester first year economics kind of thing. So that's what I'll be explaining for you guys, and it's basically the supply and demand curve. It's called the supply and demand curve. So if you're going to be doing, if you're going to be going on the commerce side of things, when you do decide to go to varsity, or you on that side as is, then you probably know this by now. If you did economics or you're doing economics or whatever, then you probably know this. So yeah, but I'm gonna explain it to those that actually don't know it. I'm gonna explain it to those that don't understand it or don't know it. This is a very important concept that I feel people need to understand, especially us as underground producers, as future basically musicians and people that are actually gonna be making music for the future listeners kind of thing. We the ones that basically hold, we basically hold the torch kind of thing. We are the ones that are going to carry the torch when it gets passed down to us later on as time goes by. So right now we're still in the progressive stage where we're still learning how to make music, but when your time comes, you're going to be carrying the torch. So it's better to carry the torch knowing all the information there is to know as is right now. So what I'll do is I'll educate you guys on the supply and demand curve and how it basically determines the price of things. So how something is basically priced and where the price comes from, and then I'll apply it more in terms of the music scene and why I feel that the value, or not the value, but the price of that we're charging for music nowadays might be a bit too high than it's actually supposed to. So that's what I'll be explaining basically. That's the overall point of this video here. So let's do this. So I'm gonna explain some stuff. So I've just drawn these 3 lines right here, 4 lines in fact. So this is the y-axis. As you all know, you should know a graph by now. This is the y-axis, and this is called an x-axis. So on the x-axis here, you have your GDP, which is not important, don't worry about that. And on the y, you have your price. So we're gonna write P there because that's important. P for price, remember that. Now let's go to this line here. This line here represents your supply curve. So we're gonna write S right there for supply, right? Then this line here, this one going down like this, represents a demand curve. So you're gonna write D. Perfect. So I hope all of you understand so far. So this is all we've done so far, nothing more. Just focus on what I'm saying. So supply, demand, and price. Those are the 3 variables that we're gonna be looking into. So let me explain what supply is. Supply, it's basically, as the word says, supply. So you're a supplier. So anybody that makes, so since I said we're gonna be making this more about house music and more in the house music scene, I'm gonna make it more related to house music so that you guys understand why I'm doing this. So suppliers of house music are producers. Suppliers of house music are DJs and everybody else. If you're a DJ, you're probably a producer as well. So you're a supplier of house music because you're constantly making music on Fruity Loops or whatever digital audio workstation you're using, and you're always making new tracks and you're uploading them online for people to buy and download for free or whatever it is you're doing. But the point is, you're making music from scratch and you're giving it out to people. So you're supplying a product. You get what I'm saying? You make a product, which is your music, and you supply it to the world. So we, all of us, including myself, we fall under the category of suppliers. So we fall under this curve here. We are the suppliers of house music, suppliers. So don't forget that. This D here is for, this curve here is called the demand curve. So that's a demand curve, this one here. Demand is basically the demanders of the product that we provide. So that's basically the population that listens to house music. That's everybody that's interested in house music, that wants house music, that collects house music, that buys, that downloads. If they want house music basically in any way, and they want to get their hands on house music in any way possible, these are the demanders of house music. So our duty here as suppliers is to provide these guys with the product that we supply. So we supply house music for them. That's why we supply house music, right? So fine. So now you understand. So you understand where you fall. We fall under suppliers. If you're here watching this tutorial here and you just love house music and you just love learning from this tutorial, then you know that you just fall under demanders, but you don't make your own music. Then it's perfectly fine. You can watch because you're gonna learn something anyway. It doesn't matter, you know. So you know automatically, as I've explained, supply and demand. You know which category you fall into, right? And then these two things together, the suppliers and the demanders together, where they meet, that determines the price of the product. So we're supplying house music, right? So this is our curve. You draw a supply curve like this and your demand curve like this. And this is where they meet, right here, right? So they meet at this point here. Supply and demand meet at this point here. And at that point there, it's where you determine your price of your good. So that means that our music that we're selling to the demanders, or we're giving to the people that actually want music, the population that's interested in our music, should be charged at this price here. And for now, you're gonna call it P note. You're gonna call it P note. So that's how much you should be charging, whether it's an EP, whether it's a track, whether it's an album, whatever it is. That's how much you should be charging P note for it. You get what I'm saying? P note means note 0 is the first number, whatever you wanna call it. So it's the first price, it's the initial price. That's how much you should be charging. You see, as things stand, with nothing having changed, that's how much you actually should be charging. But we know that things are changing in the house scene, right? We know that things are always changing. There's always new producers making new music. There's always a new number of people wanting music. It's either decreasing or increasing. Maybe there's more people wanting house music. Maybe there's less people wanting house music. Maybe there's more people supplying house music, making house music. Maybe there's less people making house music. Maybe some are deciding, I'm done, I don't want to produce anymore. This is not for me, so I don't want to make house music anymore. You know, it could be anything, but the point is, this curve here is not fixed. It's not going to be like this forever. Just like this one, it's not going to be like this forever. So what that means that when these two curves change, that also changes the price of something. So when the supply increases or decreases, that also affects the price of the music we supply. When the demand for house music increases or decreases, that also affects the price. So you understand how the product that we supply and the amount of people that want it determines the price. So to put it in a hypothetical situation, something that maybe you can relate to some more. Let's make an example with a salesperson. Let's say a salesperson is selling a cell phone. So let's say that this person here, you meet person A, and person A sells cell phones basically, or the cell phones kind of thing. So right now this person is the only person that's selling phones, right? He's the only one selling phones, and is selling phones to 5 people. So you see how many people want phones? 5 people. That's quite a lot of people. There's a high demand for phones, and the only supplier for phones is 1. So let's write that here. So one person is selling phones to 5 people. So you see how this is a supplier because it's supplying phones, and these people here, these 5 are demanding phones. So this guy here, seeing as he's got a high demand, there's a high demand of phones, right? This guy can just about charge, even if he was initially charging, let's say, if he was charging 10 rand for a phone. If he was charging 10 rand for a phone, you can convert the rands to nairas or euros or yen or dollars, whichever makes you happy. I'm just using rands because I'm South African and that's our currency here, so it's easier for me, you know. But it doesn't matter what currency you use, just focus on the numbers, you know. So we're gonna say 10 whatever, you know. So if this guy was charging per phone, he was charging 10 rand. That means that from these 5 people, if they all wanted a phone, he'd make 50 rand, right? But now what happens when somebody else comes in and says, me too, I'm also gonna charge, I'm also gonna start selling phones. You know what I'm saying? So now you have 2 people selling phones, right? So that means that these 2 people are now competing to sell phones. That means that these 5 people can either buy from this guy or this guy. So when these 2 people are competing, both of them want to sell their phones because they want to make money from their phones. So what's going to happen is that they're probably going to decrease the price of their phone. So this guy might say, okay, you know what, since there's now 2 of us, I'm going to charge 8 rand per phone, you know, so that I can try and get people to still come through and buy. And maybe this guy will say, okay, me too, I'll charge 8 rand, you see. But you see how now, because of competition, the price of the phones has actually decreased to 8 rand because now they're competing amongst each other. And that's not the only thing that could basically cause a change in the price of phones. Another thing that could change. So so we have one person there selling phones and 5 people wanting phones. Another thing that could happen would be, instead of 5 people wanting phones, maybe all these people who have bought phones, maybe it's like, people, maybe a few months later phones are no longer trending, nobody cares about phones, maybe there's a new thing of communicating and nobody cares about phones. So the old people now, the amount of people that want phones decreases to about, let me use a different sign actually, it decreases to about 2 people. So 2 people now want phones, you see. So this guy is still the only supplier of phones, but now only 2 people out of 5 people. So only 2 people want phones. The other 3 don't care about phones anymore. Only these 2 still want phones. So what does that mean? So that means if this guy was charging 10 rand per phone, now he has to kind of decrease the price of the phone because not many people want it anymore, and he still wants to sell it. So he probably has to take down the price of the phone to, let's say again, 8 rand. Why? So that he can be able to sell it to these people and convince these people to still buy, these 2 people here to still buy cell phones from him. You get what I'm saying? People, if these 2 people know that there's a new app or there's a new gadget out there that does a better job than cell phones, they know that, okay, I don't need a cell phone. So it's like, it's either you decrease the price of the cell phone, or they don't buy it, or they go buy the new gadget kind of thing. So you're probably going to decrease, this guy here is probably going to decrease the price of the cell phone to 8 rand to accommodate these 2 people here, so that he can still sell his cell phones and make a living from them. You understand? So that was just a hypothetical example. That was just a scenario with phones, so that you understand what's happening and how the whole change of prices and stuff happens. Now let's get to it in context of house music. Let's get to it. So it's basically the same principle, same everything applies, but now in house music, right? So let's go. So we said initially this is where the supply and the demand meet. The demand is equal to the supply. You get what I'm saying? So the supply is equal to the demand, and they're both equal. So they're both happy at this stage here. They're happy here because the supply is selling his phones and is selling enough phones as much as the people want phones, kind of thing. You get what I'm saying? So in context of house music, this is basically producers and whoever provides house music, they're producing enough music for the amount of people that want music. So that's why it's equal there. You get what I'm saying? But now let's factor in, let's factor in a few other variables first. You get what I'm saying? So we have to now say that, okay, excuse me. So now we have to say that we understand that, okay, the demand for house music is very high. We understand that, So let's say demand for house music is currently 50 people that want house music. But then there's something that we're not considering. We have to consider that out of these 50 people here, how many of these 50 people actually want house music and are willing to pay for it? You get what I'm saying? Like, I want house music and you want house music. But am I willing to pay for house music? Probably not. Maybe if I get a free link, I'll just use that instead of paying for it. And maybe you on the other hand are saying that I don't care even if I get a free link, I want to sponsor the artist for their hard work, so I'll always pay all the time. You get what I'm saying? So that means that these 50 people here are not only just 50 people that want house music. It's not everybody here that's gonna buy. Let's say that out of these 50 people here, 30 don't wanna pay. So don't pay. Don't wanna pay. You know what I'm saying? And only 20 of them are actually willing to pay. So only 20 are willing to pay. Out of 50 people, 30 don't want to pay, because that's realistic. We know we live in this new age and era where people just have access to internet and the free links and stuff, so they're probably not going to pay for music when they can get it for free. So that's why 30 are making more people here for free, because people love free stuff than here. And that's the reality of things, that there's less people willing to pay for stuff if they can get it for free. You get what I'm saying? So there's 30 people that don't want to pay, and there's 20 people who are saying I will pay no matter what, and in total that makes up 50 people. So this curve here, your demand curve for house music, these are all people that demand what? That demand house music. You get what I'm saying? So this curve here includes the people that are willing to pay and the people that are not willing to pay. Together these people here make up this curve here. You get what I'm saying? But what happens when you start saying, okay, I want to eliminate these people? What happens when you eliminate these people here? If you say, okay, you know what, let's cut out the people that don't want to pay. Let's only talk about people that want to pay. So what does that mean? So that means that you're removing 30 people, right? So you're moving from 50 and you're saying, okay, I want to minus the 30 people that I don't want to pay. So that gives you 20. Basic math, right? So you're losing 30 people. So you're losing. So what happens when you're losing in a supply and demand curve? When you're decreasing, so this is going, so the 50 is going down by 30 because you're minusing, right? So when you're decreasing in a supply and demand curve, you shift to the left. So when you decrease, you shift to the left, and when you increase, you shift to the right. So if this was 50 plus 30, which would give you 80, then you shift the curve, this curve here, in this direction, because this is your right hand side, right? Going in this direction. If it's this scenario here, then we shift way to the left. So what does that mean? So that means that we're saying right now that, okay, out of all these 50 people here, we don't care about the ones that are not willing to pay for house music. We want to focus on the ones that are willing to pay for house music, which is how much? Which is 20 people. So that's quite less than 50. If this is 50, then 20 people is somewhere this side, because we're saying what? If we're decreasing, we go to the left. So let's draw that curve there. So let's draw that right here. Let's just put a curve right there, and let's say, okay, let me delete that. Sorry. So let's draw the curve right there, and then let's make that our, there's our curve there. So this new curve here, this one here, the one I just drew, this is for what now? This is just for 20 people. This is just for 20 people that are what? That are willing to pay. So we've excluded these ones here. If we add them, if we add the 30 people to this curve here, then it's going to shift back to where? To this one. So this curve here equals 50 people, and this one here equals to what? It equals to 20 people, excluding the ones that are not willing to pay. We excluded those ones, so we get this curve here, which is 20. It's less than 50, so we shift way to the left. So I hope you guys understand right now. It's basic, it's simple. You know, I'm trying to explain it as best as I can in a simple way. So I hope you understand. Perfect. So let's continue then. So we've excluded all those people there. Let me see if I can't. Okay, it's going to take me a while to delete, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So let me just continue as is. So we've got that now. So that means that this is D1. This was D0, right? Because this was the initial demand of 50 people. That was initially everybody that wanted house music, and D1 is only people that are willing to pay for house music. So that's D1 right there. So fine. So now let's analyze, what does that mean? So what does that mean? If we exclude people that are not willing to pay for house music, and we just leave people that are willing to pay, and the curve then shifts to the left, what then happens to the price? You see, because we're still focusing on the price. The main key thing is what happens to the price then. So then we look at our curve and we say, okay, where does this demand curve equal the supply curve still? Then okay, we draw, we go on our demand curve like this, go on the demand curve like this, and it's there. So right there, that's where the demand curve equals the supply curve. So let's draw a line from there. Let's draw a line from there and go across like this. There. So we draw a line like that. That's gonna be what? P1. Now let's analyze what happened. So most of you are probably like, okay, whatever. So what does this mean? Now let's look at what happened. Right. So as you can see, what's happening right now, this is your demand curve, right? Your demand curve is less than your supply curve. So your supply is greater than the demand at the moment. But that's too complicated. Most of you probably won't understand why I'm saying that. So I'll make it simple. Let's look at the focal point. Let's look at where they meet. You see where they meet. That's where they meet. But look where the price was initially. This was where they were, right? But because now the demand for house music has decreased from people that are willing to pay. People that are willing to pay are very few, you know, compared to the whole population of that wants house music. Very few are willing to pay, so the demand curve decreases to that side. And that, just by decreasing the demand curve, what it means is that the price of house music decreases. So that means that it shifts down like that. So it shifts down there. You get that, and you get the new point. And that means that now music should actually in fact be selling at that price there, because the amount of people wanting to pay for house music has decreased dramatically. And we know that is happening right now in the industry. We know that it's decreasing beyond what you can, you know, measure and stuff. Like people are having no access to the internet, and they know about all these file hosting sites and how to share links and stuff. So it's like people are just using them instead of buying house music or buying music as a whole. So that's what's happening right now. That's how you get this. That's how you get this curve here, and you get the new price. So what does that mean? So that means that, sorry about that. So that means that if initially your price was here, and now, so that means that if initially you were selling your album at, let's say, okay, wait, I'll continue just now. If let's say initially your album was selling at 50 rand, you used to sell an album at 50 rand. That means that now, because the amount of people that are willing to pay for house music has decreased, that means you should also decrease your price. That means that affects the price of music as a whole as well. And that means that now you should be selling at 30 rand, right? So that means now your album, instead of selling an album for 50, you should sell at 30. Why? So that these people can continue buying. Because remember what happened. Remember what happened to the cell phone guy. If you continue charging at the same price, and there's less demand for it, if 2 out of 5 people want a cell phone, and you're still charging a very high price for a cell phone, odds are you're not gonna sell. So might as well decrease the price a bit, so that the people that are still interested in paying for it and buying a cell phone can buy at a cheaper price. You get what I'm saying? So that's what's happening here. So what's happening now is that these people are the only people willing to pay for house music. So now we need to decrease the price of house music as a whole, so as to be able to accommodate these people and let them still continue to buy house music. Now that sounds like something very harsh, and I know it's very saddening, but it's the fact and it's reality. We cannot ignore it. It's something that we have to come to terms with. That it's time we decrease the price of house music. And I understand that you put in a lot of hours into your music. You sit there and you try to get the bass keys, and you pull some Beethoven stunts, and you do all these good things to your track, and you put in a lot of efforts and hours on end, making your music. So to just decrease the price and sell it at a very cheap price sounds like something harsh, but it's a fact, and it's something that we cannot ignore. But that's not the only thing. That's not the only thing. So far, we've only looked at it from one perspective, and we've only looked at it from the demand perspective. We've only looked at it from people that are wanting house music, and we say that they are decreasing because less and less people are willing to pay for house music. So that's basically changed the price there. But then, what else is happening in the industry? What else is happening? We also know that the amount of people that are supplying house music is increasing. Especially here in South Africa, we know very well that the amount of people supplying house music is increasing dramatically. Right now, just to show you an example, right now on this channel here, as it sits, it's probably sitting on about close to 580, going to 590 subscribers, right? Subscribers. Now this channel here, as you guys know, focuses on how to make house music, especially South African house music. And I just said South African house music, but house music is house music, But I just use South African because it's produced by, the videos are done by me, and I'm a South African and all those things there. And it's more, South Africa seems to be the most dominant country when it comes to listening to house music. This particular type of house music that I show you guys how to make on FL Studio, Electro and all the others, maybe other countries dominate, but when it comes to this type of house music, SA seems to be dominating. That's what says South African house music. So it's nothing prejudice there. It's just a mere case of the use of word. But anyway, let's get back to the point. Right now the channel is sitting on about 580 subscribers. So out of those 580 subscribers, I bet you very well that close to 200 of them are actually interested in production. They're interested in production and they want to produce music, and music to them is like something that they love and they want to do with their whole heart kind of thing. It's like they want to do this. They don't see themselves doing anything besides this. Out of 580 people, 200 of those people I'm certain want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna exclude the other 300 solely on the basis of maybe others watch the channel, and others are maybe just watch the channel and they enjoy the channel, learning how music is done. Maybe others are just not from South Africa, so to put it. So they from other countries, international countries, and all those things there, and different other variables that could affect the amount of subscribers I have. But the whole point being that we're saying that 200 on this channel alone, are actually willing are interested in house music and making house music. They're interested in becoming the suppliers of house music, basically. So to put it in context with this thing, the supply and demand curve, they're interested in becoming these people here. Okay, so they want to be big guys. They want to be these guys here too. You get what I'm saying? They already are in a small sense, because they're already making music and they're already uploading links online. So they already fall under this category here. You get what I'm saying? So technically they already are these guys here. So that's what's happening. And that's just that now to put it in perspective, that's just people that's 200 people that are just subscribed to the channel right now. So there's people out there who don't have access to the internet here in South Africa who want to do the same thing. There's people out there who don't yet know about the channel. There's people out there, for whatever reason, they not have yet reached a stage where they actually can be eligible to become the suppliers of house music, but deep inside them they want to. Maybe maybe there's 150 people or 1,000 who have the software but don't know how to use it, But once they learn how to use it, they automatically become what? Suppliers, because that's what they want to do. So that's what I'm saying. So what is this saying to you? What am I saying to you? So I'm saying to you that fine, let's analyze this. You got there's people willing to pay to buy house music, and that causes a shift in the price of house music. That means that the price of house music needs to decrease, and the price of music in general, because less and less people are willing to buy music, needs to decrease. You get what I'm saying? And that causes us to find ourselves, maybe hypothetically based on this situation here, paying 30 rand for an album instead of 50 rand for an album. So now we want to buy an album at 30 rand instead of 50. For us that are willing to pay for house music. But on top of that, to factor in the next issue now we have to factor in what? Now we have to factor in that, hey, there's other people that are actually interested in becoming suppliers. So what does that mean? If there's other people interested in becoming suppliers? That means that the supply is increasing. So that means that the supply is increasing of house music. And what did I say when something is increasing? I said that it shifts way to the right. So let's go and look at it from there at the top. I'm going to just do that just now. I just want to wrap some of this stuff off. So I just want to quickly wrap this off for you guys. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. So let me just erase all of this. And yeah, that's a bit cleaner. So perfect. So remember we said that if something is increasing there, then it shifts way to the right. So if we're saying right now, so we said that D was equal to 50 people, right? And out of those 50, 30 don't want to pay and 20 are willing to pay, and that's how we got this curve here, because 20 less. So if this is 50, if this is equal to 50, then this here is equal to 20, right? And 30 is gone. We excluded 30, we left out 30. So now let's make a population for these guys here. Let's say that these guys here, it's also the same scenario, 50 people. So that's 50 people making music, right? So 50 people are making music at the moment, but we know for a fact that, the amount of people that are coming in to make music and the amount of people leaving to make music is not the same. You're finding that for maybe if 50 people are making music as things stand, you find that on top of that, you got new people coming in of about maybe 100. I'll be very extreme because it's very high. The amount of people coming in and wanting to make music and feeling that music is their calling is very high. And the amount of people from this 50, or perhaps out of this 50, that are saying, nah, I love music, but what's happening right now, I don't like it, and I don't think I want to be the supplier of house music anymore, is very low. So I'll be very extreme and I'll put it at 15 right there. So that leaves us with about 35. But we don't care about these people here. Again, you exclude another population. Those are the people that could be leaving the scene. So that could be people leaving the scene. So we're saying that out of this, then that means that we left with 35. So that means that in total there's 135 people who are suppliers of what? Of house music. So they are suppliers of house music. So what does that mean now? So let's look at that. So you see, we moved from 50 people, we added 100. And you minus what? Minus 15 people who left and said, okay, I'm done, I don't want to make house music anymore because music maybe is getting we're selling at a very low price. I'm no longer making profit. I can't feed my family. I can't do this. I can't do that. So I'm done supplying house music. I love to do it, but I can't do it anymore. Not at the rate at which things are going. We need more people that want to buy house music. So I cannot do this anymore. I'm done with that. So we're estimating that that's like 15 people that are doing that at the moment. So that leaves us with 35 people, and then on top of the 35, we got 100 others though who are saying, I'm interested. They haven't encountered this problem of prices decreasing in house music. They think that in the house scene everything is good. So that's basically me and you who don't know what's happening in terms of sales. That's the whole point of this video, to explain to you what's actually happening and what to expect when you do make it big. But let's get back to a point that 35 people left. On top of that, we're adding 100 others who want to be in the scene, who are going to replace these people here that have left. So we have 135 in total, right? So I hope you guys understand that. I hope you guys are still, on point and are understanding what I'm saying to you. So I'm gonna get to. So I'm just gonna go straight to the point now. Now I wanna remove this again. So perfect. So we've got that out the way. So now what are we saying? So now we're saying that S now is 135. So that means that it moved. So if the suppliers we said initially were 50, right? So that means that this curve here is 50, but now it's shifted from 50 to 135. That means that it's increasing, right? It's increasing because of the new people that are coming in and are wanting to be suppliers of house music. So what does that mean? So that means that it has to shift in each direction. Because it's increasing, it has to shift to the right. So it has to shift in this direction here. So it's shifting to the right, that side. So let's do that. Let's draw a curve to the right. So we're not going to draw it this side because that's the left. We're going to draw it this side because it's to the right. So let's do that. Let's draw a curve like that. Let's draw our curve there and make it almost symmetrical to this one. And there it is. So that's our new curve, you see. So we're happy with our new curve. We say, okay, perfect. There's our new curve. So what does this curve mean? So it means that this curve now, what it's saying is that this curve represents 135 people supplying music. 135 people supplying music for how many people? For a population of how much? For a population of 20 people that demand music. And I know it's very extreme. The variables are very extreme in terms of the numbers, 20 and 135. Very extreme. It's probably not really the case. It's probably very close. Maybe it's going to be 135 to 110 or something of the sort. But the whole point being, I'm trying to be as extreme as possible so that you understand and you get the point of the message behind this video here. So 135 people now in the industry, making it big, not making it big, but are producing and have digital audio workstations and stuff, and making music and they're supplying it. These are all people, and these people are equally talented. They're very good. Some of them are very good. It's just that they haven't had a big shot, or they haven't had that big break, and so they haven't produced that hit track yet that makes them famous. But they're very good as well, and it's quality house music that maybe in their neighborhoods it actually gets played, and people listen to that material and they like them, and maybe in their small community in which they're based in, they're actually quite popular, but it's just that they haven't made it into a big scene. So we talk about all these people here, right here, in this whole group of 135 people. So what does that mean? So what does an increase in the suppliers of house music mean? So what does it mean when I and 34 other people decide we're gonna make music as well? It means that